In the afternoon of July 18, 2022, Chicago police arrived at a luxury apartment complex in Streetville neighborhood for a standard welfare check. But before they could even turn the door handle, a single gunshot echoed from inside. When they breached the door, they found 29-year-old Sania Khan lying unresponsive near the entrance, killed by a bullet to the back of the head. In the bedroom nearby, her estranged husband, 36-year-old Raheel Ahmad, was found with a self-inflicted gunshot wound, along with a 9mm Glock and a suicide note. How does a vibrant, successful young woman who is actively sharing her journey of healing and liberation with thousands of followers online end up murdered in her own sanctuary? Okay, to understand the sheer horror of this betrayal, we have to look past the picture-perfect wedding photos and uncover the deeply toxic reality she was desperately trying to escape. You see, to the outside world, Sania was a force of nature. She was a deeply talented, passionate wedding photographer who spent her career capturing the happiest days of other people's lives. In June of 2022, it was her turn. After dating for 5 years, she married Raheel. They moved to Chicago together, and to many looking in, they were the perfect, successful couple. But as we know on these pages, the brightest smile in public often hide the darkest realities behind closed doors. The marriage quickly became a psychological prison. Friends noted that Sania changed almost immediately after the wedding. You see, abusive relationships are fundamentally about power and control. Raheel began to systematically erode her independence. He was prone to several mental breakdowns, and when Sania tried to establish boundaries to express her unhappiness, he would weaponize his own well-being, threatening to harm himself to force her into compliance. After all, it is the classic terrifying tactic used by abusers to hold their victims emotionally hostage. She spent the short months of her marriage feeling entirely suffocated. But Sania had an incredible amount of grit. Despite the immense pressure to stay quiet and endure the suffering to maintain the facade of a perfect marriage, she decided her life was worth more. By December of 2022, after less than a year of marriage, she did the hardest thing imaginable. She filed for a divorce. Raheel moved out of the state, relocating to Alpharetta, Georgia, while Sania stayed in their Chicago apartment. She was finally breathing free air, and she decided she wasn't going to hide her truth in the shadows anymore. Sania turned to TikTok, bravely documenting her journey of leaving a toxic marriage. In one of her viral videos, she laid bare the profound isolation she felt. She wrote, "Going through a divorce as a South Asian woman feels like you failed at life sometimes. The way the community labels you, the lack of emotional support you receive, and the pressure to stay with someone because what will people say is isolating." Sania was breaking generational stigmas. She became an accidental influencer, amassing over 20,000 followers who found immense strength in her vulnerability. Additionally, her photography business was booming. She had packed up her apartment and was preparing to move back to her hometown of Chattanooga, Tennessee, to start a completely fresh chapter. Before we get to what happened when Raheel arrived back in Chicago, make sure you're subscribed. More cases like this one drop every week. While Sania was building a beautiful new life, Raheel was festering 700 miles away in Georgia. He was entirely losing control over the woman he viewed as his possession. And in the mind of a domestic abuser, a loss of control is the ultimate trigger. He told his family he was traveling back to Chicago under the guise of salvaging the marriage. But he didn't pack a ring. He didn't pack flowers or an apology. He packed a 9mm handgun. On July 18th, just weeks before their divorce was scheduled to be finalized, Raheel arrived at Sania's apartment. We will never know exactly what words were exchanged in those final terrifying moments. However, we do know Sania was actively packing her boxes. She was ready to leave. She did not want to reconcile. Meanwhile, something else was already in motion. Back in Georgia, Rahil's family had reported him missing, deeply concerned about his mental state and a note he had left behind. That missing persons report triggered the Alpharetta police to contact Chicago law enforcement for a desperate welfare check. When officers arrived in the hallway of Sania's building, the nightmare was already unfolding. Rahil had shot Sania in the back of the head as she was standing near the front door. Perhaps as she was trying to flee, or perhaps to ensure she could never walk out of that door to start her new life. When Rahil heard the police knocking, he retreated to the bedroom and turned the gun on himself. Sania had a restraining order against him. She had changed the locks. She had even reported him to the building management, who had banned him from the premises. None of that stopped him from coming back. In the note he left, it said he could not cope with the divorce. Not with losing her, but with losing his grip on her. He had driven 700 miles knowing every door was legally and physically closed to him. He came anyway, because Sania was 3 days from leaving Chicago forever, and he knew it. Sania Khan did everything right. She recognized the physical abuse. She sought a legal exit. She separated herself geographically. She built a powerful support system online. She was literally packing her bags to go home. But her case highlights a terrifying reality. The most dangerous time for a victim of domestic violence is the exact moment they finally decide to leave. Sania's ex-husband could not stand the thought of her thriving without him, so he decided that if he couldn't control her life, he would permanently control her death. Sania Khan's story isn't just a record of a tragic end. It is a permanent digital archive of a woman bravely fighting for her right to live free. She refused to be silenced in life, and her story continues to echo loudly in death.